Welcome back. Nearly every aspect of our lives has been affected by inflation. Joining me for discussion on what this means moving forward and how we can beat inflation is Jeff Almanzar, Senior Tax Partner for the Commission Ent L.L.C. Jeff, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, Kibin. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Excited to be here again and doing this once again with you is always fun.
Awesome. So let's jump right into it. Can you just explain what is inflation?
Uh, so I would say the most simplest way to explain inflation is basically when you go into a store and the prices are a lot higher than they were before. So there's something called supply and demand, right? So when you have a scarcity of a certain product, then the price of that product is going to go up. So you're going to see a lot of the cars right now going up, rental properties going up, houses going up, and produce in the stores going up due to the scarcity, and a lot of it has to do with imports and exports and you know taxes, foreign exchanges. So there's a lot of different variables that goes into inflation that each one of these monikers can affect the prices of rising. So I would say the simplest way to explain it is just when you have a supply and demand change within the economy.
Now, is that the main reason why this is happening, or are there some other reasons why we're seeing inflation?
So inflation is an economic journey that can go back 40, 50 years, and it pretty much cycles around the whole economic system. So at any point, at any given time during the whole life cycle of an economic lifespan, a recession, an inflation, an economic boom, an economic crash, it's just part of the whole economic lifespan. So no matter what we do, no matter how we live our lives, these cycles are going to happen. These cycles are going to come. So it's just a matter of what we do in order to react to the inflation. But yes, there's certain things that can affect it, but I wouldn't say affect it. I would say, I guess, give you a notion that is coming. That okay, I see prices are going up. You have wages that are not meeting the inflation. So if the price of food is at a certain price, but the wages and jobs aren't going up, then you're not meeting supply and demand when it comes to purchase power. So people start to feel the heaviness of them having to purchase certain products if their income is not going up. So it's a lot when it comes to explaining what actually triggers it. Is a very very long, comprehensive um, explanation. But these little things, supply and demand, going to the store, seeing scarcity of food, and seeing prices going up. Those are the little things that can let you know that there's some type of inflation happening.
Now, how is inflation measured? Because I think that when we look at just everything in general, over years things have always been going up. But how do you know when you're actually experiencing inflation?
Right. So again, is a matter of having prices go really really high, really really rapidly, and a lot of it can be triggered. Let's say for instance, we just came from a pandemic, where in this pandemic there was a lot of influx of income being injected into the economy, which the domino effect to that was that a lot of people were purchasing. So the more people are purchasing, the less products are available. Therefore, the prices are going to go up, and then people are going to pay for it because there's an influx of income in the economy. So that's another trigger that can create prices to go up. Um, Same thing with gasoline. There's a lot more people that are out there, purchasing more gas, so that there's less gas to go around. So a lot of these things trigger, the inflation of it going up. And if you go back into the 80s, there was interest rates were like 20%, which is nowhere near where it is now. But some of us weren't even born. Some of us were very small to understand what that was. And at the same time, people weren't purchasing as much as they are today. Like the consumer, I guess, culture, I would call it the consumer culture right now is a lot higher than what it used to be. Right now you have your Apple Pay, you have like it's so easy for you to make a purchase right now that you don't even feel it. Like having tangible cash in your hand and just tapping your phone on any product that you want to buy, it's not the same feeling. Like a lot of people buy off emotion as well. So there's a lot of triggers that inflation um creates. And then right now, then we're going to go ahead and deal with how to deal with inflation coming back down.
That's interesting. I'm really happy that you kind of brought that up because I did hear a lot of people say something very similar. And it kind of leads to my next question just about consumerism. How do you think, well, first, this is a nationwide problem. How do you think this is going to affect low income families?
So it's going to affect a lot of low income families because let's say if they qualify for certain government help that they were getting, let's say $200 before, now they're forced to get more money from the government because $200 at the supermarket is not going to get them what they used to get $200 before, because everything in the supermarket is a lot higher, and everything that the supermarket was able to get at a cheaper price, now the supermarket is paying a lot more money for it as well. So, everything is a domino effect. The more expensive things are for the business owner, then the more expensive things are going to be for the consumer, because, they have to keep the doors open. Um, so, at the end of the day, when you're very low income, there's just so much that you can do. You want to try to save, you want to try to spend less, and just worry about the four most important things, which is where you live, where you eat, your light and clothes. So I guess you start prioritizing and having the most important things that you have to worry about, and leaving a lot of these extracurricular stuff, for when times get better. You know.
Now, the Bronx has the highest rate of poverty in New York City. How will this affect a community that was already struggling with the cost of living even before the pandemic and before inflation?
Uh, I think if anything, the Bronx is one of the most resilient boroughs. You could even call it. It's probably bigger than most cities in New York, in the United States. Sorry. So the Bronx, another thing is hearsay, and another thing is to when I say hearsay, I mean social media and the news, and obviously we're speaking, we're communicating via these social networks, but it's also um going out into the street and looking at what's happening. Going into a supermarket, going into the schools, and the Bronx is hustling and bustling, and people are out there, and they're moving. They're looking for jobs, they're moving into new apartments. So the rents are not going any lower, they're going higher. So it, there's some people that are always going to struggle, but there's always people that are going to rise above. So if you're looking for all the opportunities to go to school, to find a job, to already have in mind the next job that's going to be better than the last one, to make even more money, and then to eventually become a homeowner. I believe poverty is a state of where you're at in the moment, but it's not the state where you stay for the rest of your life. At some point you are in a system where you're low income, but while you're going through that, you are thinking about how I'm going to get better, and how I'm going to do better, and how I'm going to do better for my kids. It's just a natural human, reaction of just human nature, that you want to do better for yourself and your kids. So all the help is out there. Obviously there's always more to do. But at the end of the day, is just us doing what we need to do for ourselves, and using these tools and this help to rise above it, and eventually just live a better life every single day.
Now, what are some financial tips you can offer that can help people better manage their money during this time?
Well, one thing that I was touching on was the technology. Sometimes technology is great, but at the same time, it can also hinder your pockets because you know when you make things so easy to spend money, then you're going to spend the money. And sometimes if you don't have a good grasp of what a budget is, if you're making 500, 1,000 a week, or 300 a week, it's the same thing. If you don't know how to manage it, if you have certain percentages that you say, okay, my rent is, this is how much my light is, this is how much I spend on food, and you emotionally want to eat out all the time. Now you're using credit cards, and now every month that goes by, you're putting yourself into more debt and more debt and more debt. You're not only, making yourself suffer, you're also making your future self, you know, suffer the consequences of the actions that you're taking today. So I, one of the biggest things that I see with social media is a lot of people comparing their lives to others. You have to really be true to yourself and say, okay, this is what I want for my life, and have that discipline to not care what other people are doing, and eat at home. You don't have to spend these crazy money on clothing or cars. Just get what you need now, and then in the future you're going to reap the benefits of all your hard work and discipline, and being able to be patient with yourself while you grow. So I would surround myself with like-minded people, people that would enjoy your company, to have a glass of wine that probably costs $20, instead of you know spending a bunch of money on something that you're going to do the same exact thing, with spending time with people. So little things like that.
Now, what can people do to stay up to date with you and kind of get some more tips?
They can definitely always contact me on my website, commissiontax.com. And this is definitely a matter that is a one-to-one basis, because everybody's life is not a one size fits all. So I'm definitely getting a lot of clients that have their own situations that we're able to assess on a one-to-one. So that is definitely something that is very beneficial for everyone. And I enjoy doing that and helping everybody, and it's always a pleasure speaking to you, Kibin. So thank you for always having me.
Thank you so much for joining us and bringing us this information. We'll be right back with more Open BxRx Tuesday.